Before anything, I want to mention that this is a before you play kind of first impressions video of Remnant 2 and the opening like 10-ish hours of the game. I do plan on making a full retrospective review on the game once I've finished it, as well as let it sit with me for a while for the initial hype to die down and I can look at the experience with realistic eyes. So, Remnant 2. Bro, what the fuck? I feel like Remnant 2, even though was hyped a lot after release, still wasn't really talked about enough. I mean, oftentimes that tends to happen with certain games, even though they are pretty good by modern day standards. That's why it's so unfortunate, because Remnant 2 as a game seemingly took everything that worked in the original Remnant title and turned it up to maximum volume, as well as fixed almost everything that was wrong with that one. I mean, the first one released to very few people's attention, so bro, I don't really blame you for not knowing about the series until the sequel. But is this sequel worth it though? Bro, how the fuck should I know? These are my initial thoughts on the game and my opening hours with the title. So, Remnant 2, my broski. Played the first game a while back when it was on the PS Plus ecosystem, and even though it was somewhat clunky and frustrating at times, it was overall an enjoyable experience once the credits rolled. So jumping into this game, I was kinda excited, I'll be honest. Remnant 2 sets you off after you make your character from the very limited selection of faces and hairstyles, and you start to make your way through the tutorial of the game. The tutorial, of course, also sets the scene for what's to come, and while I can't really tell you in detail what the story is because I was for sure very intensely following along and not speaking with my brother on Discord over all of the friggin' cutscenes. Here's the gist. There's this evil entity called the Root, and no, I don't mean the Roots band, but instead a species of evil plant creatures that took over the world. Otakus rejoice, if you know what I'm saying. You go through the bread and butter Souls-like intro of learning the controls and then end up facing an enemy you can't beat, of course, to then spawn in this kind of hub area that you'll be looking at for a big chunk of the game, or so I presume. This hub area looks atmospheric and is way better than the original game's hub in literally every way imaginable. And that's a sentence you'll hear a lot if you've played the previous game or watched videos of people talking about the two. Remnant 2 in its truest form is a straight up sequel in the perfect way possible. Like I said before, it takes everything that was good in the original game and turns it up a notch. Now, gameplay follows a similar pattern of primary weapon, sidearm, as well as a weapon to swing with your heart's content, aka the melee. Now, what the sequel does 100% better is give you way more options in terms of variety in weapons and skills. So get this, after defeating big bosses or just generally progressing in the game, you can almost always go talk to the lady next to the shooting range or the old geezer at the shooting range as well, and either buy or even craft a special weapon. And that's not all, as you can also make or purchase normal or special skills too. It's like these NPCs literally have nothing else on their agenda but to wait for your dumbass to return and craft random shit. Each weapon can be equipped with active and passive skills that can be triggered by either doing something specific like rolling at the perfect time to initiate a perfect dodge, or just by clicking a freaking button. But wait, there's more, as on top of you having your class abilities, you can also equip a necklace and like 3 rings to boost stats towards a specific playstyle of your choice. We interrupt this program with some breaking news. It seems the awesome person watching this video has yet to subscribe to the channel or like the video. And in an unprecedented turn of events, he is now full on thinking about it. It is indeed free to do and would help me out a absolute ton. I mean, it would help the person of the broadcast a lot. News. It's the news. Damn it. We will update you on more information once we get it. So for now, let us return to the scheduled program. There's quite a lot of detail to get into this game, as you can probably guess by now, in terms of mechanics. As this is only an overview of these mechanics, I highly do recommend you go and watch someone more informed than me in explaining the mechanics in further detail, because I already said mechanics 3 times and there's also a lot to take care of, and you can really tinker around with percentages to build your own preferred playstyle. And on this note, here's your Game of TROVE quick tip that will hopefully be of some use to you while playing this game. Now, don't be playing this game game with the FOMO or fear of missing out feeling, as from my initial time with it, it seems to cater towards near infinite replayability, so you don't have to explore every nook and cranny in each level or biome. I mean, you can, of course, and should really explore quite a bit, because there's a lot of loot to find, but not to the point where it becomes tedious, if you know what I'm saying. Don't be afraid of missing out too, because judging by what people say online, bro, everyone misses out on something on their initial playthrough of the game. Anyway, back to what I was saying about finding your playstyle. Now, I personally love games with percentage increases in stats that give you the ability to synergize with the gear and weapons you have equipped. I mean, that's why I play so much Monster Hunter, to be perfectly honest with you, of which I did make a video on the solo experience of Monster Hunter World, so cue that up to watch after this one. The link to that video will be right up here, broski. Now, with regards to the majority of gameplay you will be doing, which is basically all the shooting and sometimes a bit of swinging, Remnant 2 feels a lot more tight and responsive with its controls, even when compared to the original game. Now, I don't know if it's just me or if it's an actual thing, but even shooting the weapons feels like there is more oomph than it did before. Headshots with snipers and connecting with all the pellets of a shotgun just does it for me time and time again. And the special weapons also, they feel so freaking powerful and unique once you get your hands on them. Now, what hasn't felt super impactful so far, at least for me, are the classes or the class system in the game. Now, this could just be down to my class of choice or mix of classes, but it just feels a bit mid when compared to all the other stuff going on in the game, if I'm being honest. Now, the way you unlock new classes is also just freaking needlessly confusing, bro. Like, you get them through specific NPCs via acquiring medals and special items, which you can show to the antisocial person of the year on top of the crane room place in the hub town. And this is all fine and well for the starting classes in the game, which there are like 4 of maybe. But bro, there is a total of 11 playable classes in this game. And let me tell you, you're not gonna be unlocking them without watching tutorials and videos on YouTube on how to freaking unlock them, because they're convoluted as shit. Now, what does make up for this is the procedural generation in this game, of which I was genuinely surprised at how much there is in this. Now, I could just be wrong in my interpretation, but early on in the game, you are tasked with finding certain keys and items, of which I won't really spoil here, but to do this, you need to access 4 different worlds. This is where it gets extremely interesting, as the order of which you tackle these worlds or biomes is random. Not just that, but I think the layout of the map is also different, and from my understanding, so far at least, each biome has a pool of end level bosses. That's also random. Like, bro, I don't know about you, but that sounds freaking awesome in my book. It adds this level of unpredictability in the game that's super refreshing to experience in a Souls-like. It feels super similar to the underground dungeon levels back in Bloodborne, which again, in my humble opinion, is the very best Souls-like game that has ever been made. Now, in Remnant 2, you can also re-roll levels after clearing them to grind for special gear and loot, as well as classes. So far, I've really enjoyed just shooting people around the randomized levels, so it'll be interesting to see if this becomes boring after a while, or if the game keeps throwing interesting enemies or situations at you. Now, what won't become boring at literally any time are the friggin' bosses. My bro, they're so freaking cool. Oh my god. From just the setting to the mechanics in the bosses, some of them are expertly crafted, like the weird large cube boss. Oh my god, bro. I died laughing during that fight. Like, when was the last time you laughed in a Souls-like boss fight? It'll be super exciting to see how the rest of the game or the bosses in the game are, and if the game introduces new way of beating bosses in games. Like, now, graphically and frames wise, the game runs okay smooth. It's not the prettiest game, I'll be very honest, and the game is kind of above average in terms of looks. It's nice. So far I like it. I've had a few dips in frames here and there, but what game doesn't have that these days, am I right? There hasn't been any crashes or glitches so far, apart from this one random pod that I got into and couldn't really get out because my dog sat in front of the exit, which was kind of funny, honestly. So it's looking good overall. I mean, it's very adherent to the art style. The environments range from super nice cubic areas to meh, it's a subway tunnel with vines growing out. So there's good and also not so very good. But it all boils down to, has it been fun to play, at least so far? And initially, I have to say, without a doubt, hell Yes, I've had a ton of fun so far playing with my brother in crime, and while fun factor could also be different when playing alone, I've been enjoying my time with the game so far. Now, even though there are some confusing things in the game, admittedly, you can't help but get this feeling of intrigue at what's in the next biome, next room, or even the next dungeon, because there's bigger and smaller dungeons that are random, and the loot in the game as well. I don't know how random they are, but there's quite a lot of it, and I do love that, of course. Should you play this game? Bro, how the fuck should I know? I was only here to tell you my opinion on the game and whether I liked it or the initial part of the game. You can do whatever the fuck you want. That pretty much wraps it up for this video yet again. I hope you did like it. If you did, be sure to click that like button down below. Subscribe to the channel, as well as comment on if you liked Remnant 2 or if you're playing it so far. If you've played the original game, tell me down below and let's start a conversazione. I hope you enjoyed the video as always. Hope you have a great day wherever you're from, whichever time you watch this at. Oh, I've been your boy. I'll catch you in the next upload. Hasta prontissimo.